निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी आरती शोभा शिवा जया जय गौरा चांदे आरती शोभा श्रीनि भाषा छत्रधारा किबा बसियाचे गौराचाँद रत्न सिंहासने आरती करेन ब्रह्मा आदि देवगणे Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Radha Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Radha Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Giridhari Gopinath Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Okay, everyone bow down. Offer to obeisance to Lordship. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Prevrajakacara Nityalila Pravishta Stotra Sadashishmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Prevrajakacara Nityalila Pravishta Stotra Sadashishmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Sakshat Bhare Gogor Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ सर गोस्वामी वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the Samuel Devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the Samuel Devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the Samuel Devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Jnana Timriyandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutaye Swayam Rupa Kadadmayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhavetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visa Kamvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripre Vanja Kalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 23. Yatra kalit fanandritim avritim cheva yogina preyata yanti tam kalam vaksyami bharatar sabha. Yatra kalit fanandritim avritim cheva yogina payata yanti tam kalam vaksyami bharatar sabha. Yatra kalit vanantritim avritim cheva yogina preyata yanti tam kalam vyaksyami bharatar sabha. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. So, O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. And the purport. The unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are totally surrendered souls, do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method. They leave everything in Krishna's hands and so easily and happily return to Godhead. But those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such methods of spiritual realization as karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, must leave the body at a suitable time in order to be sure of whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and situation for leaving this material world. But if he is not so expert, his success depends on his accidentally passing away at a certain suitable time. The suitable times at which one passes away and does not come back are explained by the Lord in the next verse. According to Acharya Baladevi Bijibhushan, the Sanskrit word Kala herein refers to the presiding deity of time. So these verses and the next ones that will continue on from this one, they're particularly referring to Jnana Yogi and mystic yogis. So these are the yogis who actually go through the Astanga process. and they can actually work with the life airs and then judge according to the astrological calculations a specific time which is actually suitable or is deemed auspicious. And then they will achieve a certain destination as a result of that. But it says here in terms of bhakti yogi, this isn't so applicable. And one who is actually just unalloyed in that sense and surrendered, that they do not really care what time they leave this world, as it says that everything is in Krishna's hands, and this means that it's just surrender, and it's not to think about where I will go and so on. Here's a verse from chapter 6 called chapter 6 Sankhya Yoga, from text 20 to 23. Yatro paramate chitam nirudam yoga sevaya yatra jevatat manatmanam pasyan atmani tusyati sukyam atyantikam yatad buddhi grayam atindriyam vediyatra nacheveyam stitas jalati tatvataha yam ladva cha param labham manyate nadikam tata yasmin sito na dukena guru napi vichalyate tam vidyat dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samjnitam. The stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth. And upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So this stage of samadhi, this is the aim of the Astanga Yoga process. These Astanga yogis, they go through the eightfold path of Astanga Yoga. So this generally starts with like yamas, niyamas, breathing techniques, pranayamas, pratyahara, controlling the life airs, and so on. And these are all prerequisites to actually concentrated meditation. And this is when it says when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities, this is called its trance or samadhi. So in terms of this complete stage, this is the goal, the complete goal. But in terms of those who are actually jnana yogis and mystic yogis, they may have some kind of a trance or samadhi. They may be fixed in their practice, but in terms of devotion and being unalloyed, it's that's the end goal of Astanga Yoga. So unless one is actually established in a relationship with the Lord and is, in that sense, just fixed on surrender and service, and then that's when they can actually just not worry about any destination as it is secondary. So in terms of actual this material world, we can see very clearly how entangling it is. Even today, actually, I was doing some book distribution, and I could see that most people now are even as they walk along, they have. I can see with the arrangement of Maya that it's very, very powerful, that there's always new ways in which people are becoming entangled and things that capture their attention. So many people now have earphones as they walk along, and you simply, it's not so easy to actually get their attention. It's we can see that the material energy is always very intelligent, how it can actually captivate people, and hopefully it's always good to try and to get people's attention and to hopefully to deliver them as a sound message which will help them. But sometimes people have to wait a little longer also, and it's just simply how it is that we know that this material energy is very strong, and some people just they simply aren't ready yet. And one thing that I was thinking about is how it actually it requires a lot of humility, in the sense that we have to admit that we don't know everything, and that we have to, as I mentioned, in terms of even if we want to know the truth, that we have to go before a spiritual master and render service and inquire submissively. So on one hand, in terms of even book distribution, we're giving people very high knowledge, but on the other hand, people are so absorbed and caught in very mundane things that this high knowledge, which requires so much humility to actually obtain, we have to somehow bridge the gap and at least give them a book which will hopefully help them to relish this knowledge, which is the lifeline out of this entanglement. So even if people aren't so submissive, or completely, even if we don't know how they're going to actually treat the book, we have to actually take some risk, and we can't just wait until they come to knock on our door. We have to go out there and actually to try and connect with them and to be the one who can actually help bridge that gap. So this is actually, so this is a text from chapter 8 in Attaining the Supreme, text 5. Antakali chamameva smaran mukta kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yas yati nasyatra samsaya. And whomever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So we know that we have to be in very good consciousness. We have to prepare for this. And this is the thing with the modern world, that people are so distracted and so bombarded with mundane, the mundane external energy, the material energy, all these different advertisements, music, and these are all very time consuming as well. In terms of even TV series, they can take so long to actually just to watch one. Even books, they're like all these fictional pastimes are now household names, like Harry Potter and so on, and even like Lord of the Rings and all these, where people know the very intimate details of all these fictional personalities, and even their family histories and so on. So we have to try and somehow to try and understand people, and then, as the word that Srila Prabhupada says, is to dovetail their propensities, where they can actually appreciate Krishna and actual knowledge which has spiritual substance to it, which is also very much as well in terms of the Mahabharata and the Ramayana and all these histories which actually have so much detail and are so much in depth and perfect, have substance in their knowledge or in their meaning, which gives actual knowledge which can be of substance and what's really meaningful in life. So we can try and engage people's propensities so that they can actually elevate themselves, and to be on, for one who is actually in spiritual life, they can relish all these different transcendental literatures, and also the whole variety of, in terms of all this mundane music and so on, everything can be dovetailed spiritually through kirtan and so on. So the process is Shravanam, Smaranam, Vishnu Kirtanam. Smaranam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So the process is to actually just engage all our senses, and there's so much actually variety there that it's not mundane, and it's actually something which can actually be very interesting, that we can develop a higher taste and have a positive entanglement. So it says in chapter 9, text 14, Satatam Krityanto mam yatantascha drida vrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So this is obviously this is what we have to try and the stage we have to try and attain is to actually to be always actually positively engaged, to have that in terms of humility, and to be actually submissive before spiritual authority. So, and to actually have determination. So this it takes endeavor that we have to seek and to help others seek, so that they can actually use their intelligence and discrimination, as Srila Prabhupada has said, that he wanted to just to reason with people that they should take this seriously, that the everyday people and even those who are actually in government and positions of influence within society, that they can take this seriously and see how it can actually benefit themselves and others. I'd just like to ask if there's any questions at the moment. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you. So, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 38. Kevayam nama rupabhyam yadudvi saha pandava bhavato darsanam yarhi rishikanam ivesitu. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. Kunti Devi is quite aware that the existence of the Pandavas is due to Sri Krishna only. The Pandavas are undoubtedly well established in name and fame and are guided by the great King Yudhisthira, who is morality personified. And the Yadus are undoubtedly great allies, but without the guidance of Lord Krishna, all of them are non-entities, as much as the senses of the body are useless without the guidance of consciousness. No one shall be proud of his prestige, power, and fame without being guided by the favor of the Supreme Lord. The living beings are always dependent, and the ultimate dependable object is the Lord Himself. We may therefore invent, by our advancement of material knowledge, all sorts of counteracting material resources, but without being guided by the Lord, all such inventions end in fiasco, however strong and stout the reactionary elements may be. So here we can see, in terms of the humility of the Pandavas, that they know that everything is actually coming from Krishna, that they're just non-entities without Him. And we can see even in terms of all these material endeavors, even though they may be very advanced and may provide us as well with a lot of comfort, but we have to ask what is really necessary, and this point comes in, which is Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana, that we have to really ask who we are, who is God, and what is our relationship with Him. And then we have to actually act accordingly to that, and also to actually, and in the end, to attain the goal of that, which is the unalloyed service. But that's the thing, that people in this world, it's very evident that people are thriving on what they call individuality, which is all based on the bodily concept. So we can see that people, it's supposedly individual, but everyone in the name of individuality, they follow certain, which is still trends, certain stereotypes which help them to express this what they call individuality. But to realize in terms of our real individuality, it has to be above the bodily concept. As it mentions, it says transcendental senses. So we have to realize that there is a supreme, and our relationship with Him is of servitude. And in terms of this, we can realize as well that we are actually individual, what's described as minute parts and parcels. So this means that we are all individual servants, and all are unique and individual, like in terms of, even I described as like snowflakes. So in terms of Krishna consciousness, we have to realize that not to be fooled or in disarray with the material arrangement and the plethora of different things we are bombarded with, and our so-called individuality, and taking comfort with things that are totally based on a mundane platform. That we can realize that there is much more in terms of variety, and the real substance is in the material or the spiritual platform. So I'm just going to read a story which will actually indicate the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So this story is called The Life and Death of Ajamila. There once lived a young Brahmin called Ajamil in a city called Kanyakubja. Ajamil was compassionate and kind to all. He lived with his parents and young wife, and always chanted his prayers and mantras, and offered respects to his parents and spiritual master. One day when Ajamil went to the forest to collect fruit and flowers for deity worship, he came across a drunkard man who was shamelessly kissing a prostitute. Ajamil became attracted to this woman, but knew that it was not appropriate. Despite his attempts to control his restless mind, he could not get rid of thoughts of her. Eventually, impelled by desire, he moved in with her and fell from his pure lifestyle into degraded habits. He became a cheat, thief, and gambler, and his heart turned cruel. So this is the story of Ajamil. This prostitute bore Ajamil 10 sons. The youngest of them was called Narayan. Ajamil was so attached to his son Narayan that he thought of nothing else. He would not even eat or drink before he had fed Narayan. Years rolled on. Ajamil was getting old, and at the advanced age of 88, was still unmindful that death was inevitably drawing near. One night, half asleep, he saw approaching him 3 dreadful and ferocious beings holding ropes in their hands. They had twisted faces, long unruly hair on their heads, and their bodily hair was like bristles. Ajamil recognized them as the legendary Yamadutas, the servant of Yama, the Lord of Death. They had come to take him to the planet of Yamaraj. Overwhelmed by terror, he cried out to his son, "Narayan, come here, Narayan." Because Ajamil chanted the holy name of Narayan, and even though he was really calling his son, the beautiful Vishnu Dutas, servants of Vishnu, immediately arrived. They each looked just like Lord Vishnu. Their complexion was dark blue. They had 4 arms on their heads. They wore golden crowns. They were exquisitely beautiful and moved gracefully. They immediately approached the Yamadutas, who were dragging the Brahman's soul from his body, and ordered, "We forbid you. You can't take him to Yamaraj." The fierce-looking Yamadutas angrily retorted, "Who are you to prevent us from taking this sinful man to our master, Lord Yama?" Our master Yamaraj punishes those who lead sinful life. Ajamil left his parents and young wife, lived with a prostitute, and deserved to be punished. The Vishnudutas replied to the Yamadutas, "No doubt he was a sinner, but since he chanted the Lord's powerful name, even though indicating his son, he comes under Narayan's protection. All his sins have been eradicated, and therefore he is exempt from the punishment by Yama." After some further discussion, the Yamadutas reluctantly released Ajamil and returned to their master Yamaraj. After they explained the embarrassing incident, Yama ordered them, "You should never go near the devotees, for they remember and chant the Lord's name. Bring to me that only those people who have never chanted the Lord's name and whose ears have never once heard the stories of the Lord." After hearing the conversation between the Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas, Ajamil realized that he had been given a second chance. Fully aware of his previous folly, he became a great devotee of Narayan and strictly performed his spiritual duties to free himself of any traces of material desire. A few years later, the Vishnudutas returned on a swan aeroplane and escorted Ajamil back to the spiritual realm. So that's the end. Yeah, that's a particular story. And just to finish with a quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam, In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 8, it is said, "My dear Lord, any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, and who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim." So, thank you. And I'm not sure if there's any questions in that I know it's a brief time, but okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, all assembled devotees ki, Jai. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. No, yeah, his son's name. Yeah. Yes. Exactly, yeah, that's the point, yeah, that before I read the story, I was trying to highlight the mercy of the Lord. That, yeah, because even though they may not be consciously aware that they're actually calling the Lord, it's mentioned about Sukriti is like pious credits. Yeah, so because even they have just from previous like good activities and pious activities, or they may have like give even like helps the devotee or give a donation or something like this, even if it's like a previous life just has accumulated, and because of that previous activity, they can actually like chant the names and so on, and so it could be like a long process of a lifetime whereby they've got to this stage like Ajimil in the story. No, it just mentioned that he was actually like he was just like a good like more of a pious person. Yeah. I think it's just a pious person anyway, as far as I know. But he left like he got went down the wrong path by he was like affected by the material energy and then Yeah, because he was so attached to his son. Yeah, and obviously that this Ajamil must be a special like personality that he can actually be in that situation. It's like Kamsa and these who are actually certain like demons that are mentioned in the Krishna's pastimes, that they were so they were still thinking of nothing else but Krishna, even though it was to end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
Even though they're not thinking nice, but still they're thinking about Krishna.
Yeah.
Day and night.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that means that they got liberation, but there's different types of liberation. So they may go to like, what's this right, it's like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti or somewhere like this, but they, I think it's mentioned in terms of one who is actually like fully devoted to Krishna and consciously devoted to Krishna, then they'll go to Krishna's abode, so they can still get the mercy of Krishna, but they mightn't go directly to Krishna's association in the spiritual world. Yeah.
I don't know if you have time. I hope I'm
Yeah,
not
no problem. Yeah, thanks.
Some